For 500 years, we were told our story began with a foreign ship. That before Ferdinand Magellan stepped onto Philippine soil in 1521, there was nothing. No civilization, no recorded thought, no history worth remembering. Just jungle, just sea, just waiting. But deep in the province of Rizal, carved into ancient rock face, are symbols no colonial hand ever made. Symbols that predate Spain, that predate Islam, that may even predate written language as we know it in Southeast Asia. And the question that has haunted every archaeologist, every indigenous scholar, every Filipino who has ever looked at those carvings and felt something, is this: who were the people that made them? And where did they come from? What if I told you the answer isn't on land at all? What if the answer is somewhere beneath the sea? Look at a map of the Philippines. Not the political map, not the one with borders and provinces and national highways. Look at the geological map. What you'll see will change how you understand this archipelago forever. The Philippines doesn't sit on flat ocean floor. It sits at the intersection of three of the most geologically violent tectonic plates on Earth: the Eurasian Plate, the Philippine Sea Plate, and the Pacific Plate. And surrounding these 7,641 islands, at depths that most people will never think about, are trenches. The Philippine Trench, over 10,000 meters deep, one of the deepest places on the surface of this planet. The Manila Trench, running along the western edge of Luzon like a scar that never healed. Now here is where it gets interesting. Between approximately 20,000 and 10,000 years ago, during what geologists call the last glacial maximum, sea levels across the entire planet were not where they are today. They were lower, by as much as 120 meters. 120 meters. Do you understand what that means for the Philippines? It means that what we today call separate islands were once one landmass. Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, connected. Palawan stretching almost to the Asian mainland. The Sulu archipelago forming a continuous land bridge toward Borneo. A single, enormous territory. Geographers sometimes call it Sundaland, the great submerged continent of Southeast Asia. And 10,000 years ago, the water rose. And it didn't stop. And it swallowed everything. Now, I want you to hold that image in your mind. A flooded civilization, a drowned world. And I want you to listen to a very old story. Before the Spanish brought their god to these islands, the Filipino people already had one. His name was Bathala. In the ancient Tagalog cosmology, passed down not in books because the Spanish burned what little was written and time consumed the rest, but in oral tradition, in ambahan, in the memory of elders who refused to forget. Bathala was the supreme deity, the creator, the one who sat above all things. He lived not in the sky the way European gods did, distant, removed, looking down from clouds. Bathala dwelled. He was present. He was intimate with the earth. And the ancient Tagalogs believed that before the world as we know it existed, there was a great primordial event, a catastrophic reshaping of the land, a time when the boundary between sea and earth was violently redrawn. Now, Western mythology scholars who encountered this tradition in the 19th century noticed something strange. The description of Bathala, a powerful creator deity associated with the sky, with the deep, and with a civilization that existed before a great flood, bore a disturbing resemblance to the god kings described in a lost continent theory that was circulating in European occult circles at the exact same time. The theory of Mu. And this is where our story gets controversial. Stay with me. In 1864, a French scholar named Charles-Étienne Brasseur de Bourbourg was translating a Mayan text, the Troano Codex, when he believed he decoded a reference to a sunken land in the Atlantic. He called it Mu. Decades later, a British-American writer named James Churchward took that idea and ran with it, claiming, based on what he said were ancient temple tablets shown to him by a Hindu priest in India, that Mu was not in the Atlantic. It was in the Pacific. And according to Churchward's controversial theory, which mainstream archaeology has firmly rejected, but whose underlying premise of a flooded Southeast Asian landmass science has since confirmed in a different form, the Pacific was once home to a vast civilization, a mother civilization, the source from which the cultures of Egypt, the Indus Valley, Mesoamerica, and Southeast Asia all descended. He called the people of Mu the Nakal, and their priests, their god kings, their rulers. He described them in terms that sound eerily close to what pre-colonial Filipino oral tradition describes when it speaks of the Diwata, the Anito, and the supreme architect above them all, Bathala. Now, is Churchward's theory accurate? Mainstream geology says no. There is no evidence of a sunken Pacific continent in the way Churchward imagined. But here is what established science does confirm. There was a sunken landmass in Southeast Asia. It was real. It was enormous. And the sea took it. The question is not whether land was lost. The question is, what was on it? Let's go back to Rizal. In the municipality of Angono, carved into a large rock face overlooking what was once a wide lake basin, are 127 figures. Human forms, abstract shapes, symbols that archaeologists have confirmed are over 3,000 years old. The Angono Petroglyphs. They are the oldest known work of art in the Philippines, and no one fully understands what they mean. The official explanation is that they were made by early hunter-gatherers, people without writing, without cities, without what we conventionally call civilization. But look closer. The figures are deliberate. They are precise. They are not the random markings of bored hands on stone. They are arranged. They communicate something. They are speaking in a language we have simply forgotten how to hear. And the location is not random either. Angono sits in a geological basin that would have been profoundly different 10,000 years ago. The lakes, the valleys, the river systems of Luzon, all of them fed by a landscape that was dramatically reshaped when sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age. The people who made those carvings were not simple wanderers passing through. They were survivors. They were people who had watched the world change, who had witnessed the world they knew become unrecognizable, who pressed their memory into rock face because rock was the only thing that would last. And this raises a question that no textbook in the Philippine education system has ever asked out loud. What did they lose? Here is a thought I want you to sit with. Every culture that survived long enough to record its own memory wrote about a flood. And the ancient Filipinos? They had Bathala's great reordering of the world. The Paglika, the creation, that many oral traditions describe not as a beginning from nothing, but as a rebuilding after destruction. Not a creation myth, a reconstruction myth. Mythology scholars like Joseph Campbell spent their entire careers arguing that flood myths across disconnected civilizations cannot be coincidence. That somewhere beneath the metaphor is a memory, a real event, passed down not in books, because books burn, but in story, because story is harder to kill. The Churchward theory, the Lords of Mu, the Nakal priests, the Pacific Mother civilization, may be wrong in its specifics, but what if it is directionally correct? What if the Filipino people are not descended from simple migrants who arrived by accident on bamboo rafts? What if they are descended from the survivors of the most catastrophic climate event in human history, the end of the Ice Age, who carried with them fragments of a knowledge system so old that by the time Magellan arrived, even they had forgotten where it came from? What if Bathala is not a primitive god invented by people with no history? What if Bathala is the last echo of something real? Let me be clear about what is confirmed and what remains theory. Confirmed? Sundaland existed. The geological record is not in dispute. Between 20,000 and 8,000 years ago, sea levels in Southeast Asia rose dramatically, displacing an estimated 300,000 square kilometers of land. Entire river systems, entire coastal plains, gone. Confirmed. The Philippines sits on some of the oldest known human migration corridors on Earth. Tabon Cave in Palawan has yielded remains, some attributed to archaic species dating as far back as 67,000 years ago. That is older than the earliest modern human remains found in Europe. There is a reason this history was never taught to you. Not because it doesn't exist, but because a people who know how ancient they are a people who are very difficult to colonize. When Spain arrived in 1521, they did not find an empty land waiting for civilization. They found a people with gods, with laws, with trade routes that stretched across Asia, with a writing system, baybayin, that was already living inside a culture that had been transmitting knowledge for thousands of years without needing it. The colonizers did not bring civilization to the Philippines. They interrupted one. Beneath the Philippine Sea, at depths our technology is only now beginning to truly map, the land that was lost is still there, silent, patient, waiting. And the stones in Rizal are still speaking. We just have to learn, again, how to listen. If this history moved something in you, if somewhere in the telling of this you felt a recognition you couldn't explain, then you already understand something that no textbook ever taught you. You are not the beginning of this story. You are the continuation of a story far older than anyone allowed you to know. Subscribe, because the next chapter goes even deeper.